Hello and good morning, everybody.
Hello.
How are we doing on this lovely Saturday morning?
Saturday.
I'm tired. How are you, Cass?
I'm exhausted.
Hope everybody is well rested in the chat.
Absolutely. I want to go back to bed after this live stream. I'm going to be so honest. I don't know if that will actually happen, but that's what I'm looking forward to.
Sounds quite tempting, honestly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have to go take care of my car. I might have a nail in my tire, so I need to deal with that. So that's gross.
Sounds super fun.
Not even a little bit.
See, I think my brother's coming over today, and he's bringing his kitten with him because they are trying to socialize him.
Yay! I'm sure Winnie and Poppy will love that.
No, I feel like it's gonna be awful, honestly. I think Winnie's just going to hiss at him so much, and I think Poppy will run and hide.
Yep, sounds all right.
But
yeah,
that's
your cats are not social creatures whatsoever.
Well, no, I mean, they've never left our house aside from when we brought them in, and then when we take them to the vet, which they also hate, so.
Yep.
Hello to everybody joining.
Hello. Good morning.
What should we talk about for this first 10 minutes? We're probably going to do a little bit of chatting, and then in like 8 minutes, we'll get into talking about the book. But anybody have any fun plans for today? Hopefully more fun than Cass's plans.
Fun weekend. It is a holiday weekend.
Oh yeah, Labor Day. If you guys are in the States.
I was gonna travel. I don't want to travel during Labor Day weekend though. My roommate and her boyfriend just left yesterday. And I was like, best of luck, because that just does not sound like fun.
Honestly. Didn't finish the Well of Ascension in time for this month. No! Hopefully you'll finish the Hero of Ages.
So I don't blame you.
It really is. Like, who were we thinking we should choose like books that have upwards of like 800 pages in them for the book club?
I was really convinced this was on like the low end of 700 pages. So when I just kept going and I was like, what? When will this book end?
No, literally. And like, not that it doesn't have to be 750 pages, but like, maybe it didn't have to be 750 pages.
Maybe we could have chopped up just a wee bit.
Just a little bit. No critiques or anything, but like 50 pages. 75? See, my rock band had a show last night, so I plan on going back to bed. That's so cool. The hell?
What instrument do you play? What's your position? We've got to know the details. Hopefully I'll be there for next month's live. Hopefully that'll be our last one. Our last book club discussion.
Honestly, so crazy. Like, I can't believe it. I feel dead. I'm the lead singer. That is so cool. My God, we got some talented people in the chat. Kelsey, I'm in awe.
Oh my goodness. What's your favorite book
Cass,
of the year?
Oh.
Turn you up.
Actually, mine's easy.
What is it?
Oh, it's I don't know if you were gonna like start talking and like lagged a bit, so I didn't want to just like be like, this is mine. It's Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. Absolutely.
Solid.
Yeah. What's yours?
Think of, I don't know. Like, I really enjoyed Way of Kings. I don't know if that's like my top though. Farron? Is that a cop-out?
I feel like that's a solid choice. I feel like
the
it counts.
entirety of Farron.
Just every single one.
Every single one.
What's the plan for next month's book? We are going to be finishing out the Mistborn original trilogy by reading Hero of Ages.
Crazy. We're gonna be more on top of it this time, right, Katie?
You
Right,
know,
Katie?
I told myself, like, because I finished this book yesterday, like last night, like 12:30 a.m. I was like, I put this off so much. So, like, I told myself this morning, I was like, I'm going to start Hero of Ages so soon. But I know it's going to be like September 27th. And I'll be like, oh, shoot, it's time to start the Hero of Ages.
Yeah. We don't have to talk about how my reading went last night. My eyes hurt. I read so much.
She texted me like 11 o'clock or something. She's like, why is this book so long? But the thing is, I was also still in the middle of it.
I was on page 150 yesterday.
I have to laugh because like
come like 10 p.m.
I think that takes the cake for like the most behind one of us has ever been for the book club.
Yo, I read so much last night. So many hours of frantically reading.
But next month, I really am gonna start it early. Cause like I just hated myself these last few days. I'm like, why did I do this?
Oh goodness. I'm not ready
So
for Women's and Words to end. Me either. But like,
yeah, honestly. The fact that it's been like 2 years.
It's crazy.
That's wild.
It is insane. This is kind of what started our friendship too. Like not even a month in to like Katie and I's friendship, I was like, do you want to start a book club with me?
Yeah, and that's like the reason we started like video chatting and whatnot. And here we are. 2 years and like a month later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
See, how long is the next one? I think the next one is, same length-ish.
I think it's a little shorter, yeah. Oh,
is
actually, that's looking pretty thick.
I'll Google it. See, I would appreciate the page count if I didn't leave it until the last minute. Like, it's fine. But, you know, reading this many pages in, like, 3 days, not my favorite thing.
Kind of a lot.
Yeah. You know, this is telling me the hardback is set 572 pages, but I know that is not true.
Yeah, I was going to get it off my shelf. It's just a little too far.
Maybe it's true for the hardback, actually, but I know the paperback is probably about the same as the Well of Ascension. See, very sad that you can't get the audiobooks for these from the library. Really? Because my library has them. I can just never get a hold of them.
They have the longest, like, wait times.
But I bought these, or, like, not bought them, but, like, I used Audible credits for them when I read them the first time, so I just listened to those again. So that was very fortuitous. And I do have the one for Hero of Ages, too, so I'm ready to go. They're Audible exclusives? I don't think they're Audible exclusives, though.
No,
because I definitely tried to borrow the audiobooks from my library.
I thought Sanderson like fought the fact that he didn't want them to be Audible exclusives.
I think that was with his secret projects.
Okay.
Maybe, but I don't think like the Mistborn ones. Or yeah, because the like Stormlight, the audiobooks, I can get from the library too, so I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways.
Not that matters. So app to use for audiobooks, I use Libby to get audiobooks from my library, or I will use copious amounts of Amazon like Audible free trials. Love those.
The Skyward series are Audible exclusives, but not the Cosmere. Okay.
I hate Audible exclusives. They make me mad.
Yeah, it kind of feels like they have a monopoly over audiobooks. So
whatever. Guess I'll just have to read with my eyes. Gross.
Horrible. All right, shall we?
It's time to chat. We're going to talk spoilers and everything. So if you haven't read it, get out of here.
All right.
There was your warning.
Proceed with caution now.
So, what did everybody rate the Well of Ascension?
Star ratings. What are we feeling?
Drop them in the chat. Cass, what did you rate it?
Well, last year I rated it 5 stars, and I don't typically ever change star ratings. However, the rereading experience wasn't as satisfying because I remembered a lot of major plot reveals, and those were what made it so interesting. So on a reread, I would probably rate it 4, but I'm just going to leave it as a 5.
I think I don't rate books anymore, but like when I rated this last year, I gave it 4 stars, and if I was gonna rate this year, I would still give it 4 stars. Because, you know, it makes me sad though, because the Final Empire is just so good.
So
but like
good.
And even on reread, I knew what was gonna happen, but like it was still so
hit different. Yeah.
But this one just wasn't my cup of tea, like the first time, and it still wasn't exactly this time either.
Yeah.
But it was still good. Like,
no, really, absolutely. Like I still enjoyed my reread of it. I just think that knowing major points, especially like the big one was like who was like the spy, right? And I couldn't remember for the life of me, and then it like clicked and I was like, dang it, like I wish I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen at the end in terms of like who attacks what like just like major interactions, because there's a lot of just like talking. Like it's an extended siege. There's a lot of like planning, and things might go this way, things might go that way. So when you know the outcome, I feel like it's just like a little less exciting.
Yeah, there's not like that suspense that there is the first time you read the book, and then when you get down to it, this is a very like political, heavy talking book, and like things happen, but not very frequently.
Yeah.
So yeah, like those reveals being taken out, there was just like, man, we're like, this is a lot of talking. Like maybe
it is so much. And I don't think I realized that because I was just like so intrigued with all these potential things that have been set up.
Yeah.
But then reading it this time, I'm like, dang, like this is all politics, which like I love. So I still like enjoyed it. But yeah, the suspense was not there.
See, I don't like political heavy fantasy really, but I still like this one a lot. Like, it's one of my favorite political fantasies.
Yeah.
But that's not saying a lot.
All right, looks like 3.5 to 4 is the average. A couple of 5s in there as well.
Yeah.
So we all felt about the same. Like it was a good book. It was solid. It was just long.
Yeah. And I feel like comparing it to the Final Empire like just isn't fair.
It's
like it's just not as good as the Final Empire, but like Final Empire is just so good.
It really is. So solid.
But
where do you even begin with this book?
I don't know. Like, I feel like
so much happens.
This series is hard because like they're long, lots of things happen, there's lots to talk about. So I don't know where to start. Okay, let's start with, I don't know, the ending. I feel like the ending is the most exciting part, so maybe we could just start there.
Yeah, the ending was wild. That was the most exciting part, was the ending. I think like 600 pages it takes to get to that point.
Do we like the fact that Elend is now Mistborn? What are our thoughts on that? Did anybody see it coming? I think I like it. I feel like it's a little bit like, I don't know, easy. They're just like, take this bead and now you're Mistborn. But I feel like what it does for the series, I like. So I'm excited, and I like that it kind of leaves you on that cliffhanger at the end, because like you find out like, oh, he's Mistborn, and then it's like the end of book 2, and then you're kind of just waiting to see what's going to happen with that in the 3rd book. So I like that and like how it was done.
No, absolutely, and I think it adds. I'm like torn because I really liked Vin and Elend's dynamic, and that's something like they struggled with throughout this entire book, was that Elend is normal and Vin is Mistborn, and it's like, how do they make this relationship work? Like, their dynamic is so different, but you know, they happen to work. But then to, you know, kind of level the playing field level the playing field, but like Elend has no training, and he's such like, he has such a soft heart that I'm like, how is he supposed to be like useful with his powers?
Yeah, I don't even really remember what he's like as a Mistborn in the 3rd one, but I'm quite excited to kind of re-experience that. but I like what it does to kind of, I don't know, shift the power dynamic a little bit between them.
Yeah. I actually didn't like Ellen in this book. Deja, you gotta explain.
Damn, that's a hot take. I really like Ellen. I know some people don't, though. I have heard that take before.
I do really like Ellen. At times his morals drive me up the wall. I'm like, just lie.
Yeah, honestly.
Just lie for the betterment of your entire world.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, no, I can't do that.
No, like when they were in the meeting and he was it's when he was like being voted out and he was like, should I remind them of this law? Or like, should I not? I was like, no, don't remind them of the law. Like, everybody is dirty and manipulative. Like, just do this one thing. Like, you wrote the law. Don't let them know. If they're not reading up on it, that's their
Literally,
problem.
I'm like, you wrote the law. They clearly don't know it. You could have just been like, nope, and then changed it, which of course would go against what his character stands for, but still.
I respect the fact that he has morals, but they're getting in the way.
I feel like Ellen declines so much after this book. Love him in the first book and most of this book, but after he becomes a Mistborn, I liked him less. Interesting. That'll be something we can definitely dive into next discussion, because I don't remember either kind of how he's like as a Mistborn, so
I'm excited for that. Get some intrigue going on in there.
I was spoiled that he was Mistborn and still was surprised when it happens, because the book's so long that by the time you get to the point, you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that even was gonna happen.
Literally.
Because I totally forgot that happened at the end of this book too. And I was like,
really?
Yeah.
Well, I definitely remembered that was coming and I was like very excited for it. So that was like something that kept me going through the book at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did we think about, I mean, staying sort of on the topic of Ellen, but like Vin and Ellen's relationship dynamic? Did you think it was fair? Did you think it was a lot of teenage angst?
I feel like, man, these two just needed to sit down and have a conversation. Because I feel like Vin was, feeling some type of way. Ellen was feeling some type of way. But I'm like, just have a chat. Have a little talk about it. I feel like some of them were things that could have been easily resolved if they had just sat down and been like, here's how I'm feeling, and here's how I'm feeling, instead of them like both going to Says It and being like,
no, that was like back-to-back conversations were so funny. I can't. That was
so cheesy though.
Where like Vince hemming and hawing and then leaves and then Ellen comes in.
Honestly, I feel bad for Says It. He's just like this old terraceman trying to do his like job research, whatever, and he has these like young kids coming to him with like relationship problems.
Oh my goodness.
But I feel like I like the fact that they had some relationship issues going on in this book. I feel like it would make sense since they're both at such like in a tumultuous kind of situation that they would feel that way.
Absolutely. And I think also it was really realistic for their characters and the backstories that they had established, like Vin being so insecure about her relationship because she grew up on the streets, not being able to trust anyone, right? And then the person that she did trust kind of betrayed her in a way, not being Kelsier. And then Ellen obviously being like, bro, I'm just a dude. And Vin's over here like able to murder like 300 people in 10 minutes.
No, like Vin headbutting that guy to death is just like insane. And like if I were Ellen and I witnessed that, I might be like having a little side eye too.
Honestly, like his reactions are valid.
Very valid.
Like Vin grew up in a very brutal world, right? Living on the streets. Ellen grew up in a very posh environment, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't blame him for being like, huh.
But I feel like their differences are what make the like relationship dynamic so interesting. So
absolutely. And I'm glad that they got married. I loved that scene so much.
I know. I just think they're so cute, honestly. I know some people really don't like the relationship like stuff that goes on in Mistborn, even though there's not that much of it. But I think they're cute. And I like their scenes. Like that.
Yeah.
Like right after they got married and Ellen's like, you'll not talk to my wife like that. I'm like,
that gives me every time.
I'm like, no, they won't.
I love, like, I eat it up every time, but anytime characters get married and the first time they refer to each other as, like, wife or husband, I'm like, eek.
Like, that's my wife. Yeah, it is.
Oh, I love it. When I found out that, is it Orseer was the spy, I died inside.
I totally forgot about that. Like, I knew that there was a Khandra named Tensoon in this somewhere, but I couldn't remember who he was, where he came in. So, like, when that happened, I was like, oh, that's team.
Yeah, I couldn't remember at the beginning, and then there was a scene where the two of them were talking, and I was like, oh my gosh, wait. That's the spy.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that part until it was, like, upon me.
But I like how they kind of bonded, right? So even though he had to follow his contract, he still saved Vin in the end.
Yeah, I really like how their relationship kind of develops over the course of the series.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What, maybe kind of going off of that, what do we think of Zane and his whole, like, part in this book?
Oh, Zane.
I think he's a really interesting thing to add in there because it's like, I don't like his whole, like, potentially relationship-y thing with Vin that she's got going on because I don't like that. But I do like how it's a representation of, like, what Vin thinks she should have, being Zane, versus, like, what she wants, being Ellen. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see it, like, personified in that way. But I don't know. I mean, obviously I don't like Zane as a character, but he's interesting. I'll give him that.
Zane, the master manipulator. Honestly, I've never, like, the way his character was crafted was so good because you felt sympathy for him and yet knew who he was.
Yeah.
Also, he had a spike through him, right?
Mm-hmm. He had a hemalurgic spike. Yeah.
How do you say that?
Hemalurgic.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how I pronounced it in my head.
Oh. See, that's the good part of the audiobooks.
Yeah.
You just know how to pronounce everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love
waiting for them to be like, J.K. Kelsier is still alive, and was very disappointed when he didn't come back. My first read was like that too.
I was like, man, he's like, Kelsier's a master. Like, he had this whole thing planned out. He's gonna come back. He'll be there.
Yeah.
Alas.
No, even with them being like, yeah, his bones were digested. I'm like, nah.
Like, I meant, like,
that's not his. No.
It's just all part of the plan. Yeah. Sad times, but anyway.
Yeah, Zane was, I liked Zane. I liked the scenes with him. I think it kept me on my toes because I never knew, what scenes, like, were actually real with, like, Zane attacking Vin. It gave her some practice, obviously. It gave her perspective. Perhaps not the best perspective, but perspective. I love the dynamic with Zane and Straff, though. Like, when it was revealed that Zane wasn't the one poisoning him the whole time.
Like that, I love that because obviously Straff sucks. So that's the comeuppance he deserves.
He better. I like the elements that Zane added in, how you could see how Mistborn act and interact with each other. You could 100% sympathize with him for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like having somebody that's like in Vin's life that's a Mistborn that's not like a friend of hers, but like they have this kind of mutual respect almost for each other.
Absolutely.
I like their fights, their dynamic overall. I just thought it was a really interesting thing to add in here. I
will say the one scene that, like, it doesn't, like, irk me per se, but it's still like, how powerful is Vin, like this scene where they're like the last scene with them together where Zane has, was it ATM and is able to still beat Zane, like, by magically figuring out.
Yeah.
Like, how OP is Vin now? Hang on now.
Like, Vin is incredibly OP, and sometimes I like it because it, fun fight scenes, like the whole part in the assembly when she was just, fighting off 6 Alamancers alone by her, like, at once. I was like, slay. But at what point does it become ridiculous?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because they built this metal up to be so unstoppable, like guaranteed death basically, and like she was scared about it the entire book the second she ran out, right in the very beginning when she was fighting off the assassins. So it's like, again, like at what point is she like too powerful?
Yeah, and like I still can't remember if there's a reason for it or not, but like at this point I don't know what it could possibly be, so maybe she's just that good.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, what about one of my favorite new dynamics in this book was Sazed and I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Tindwell.
Tinwell?
Tindwell.
Tindwell.
Mm-hmm.
She's lovely. I loved her dynamic with every single one of the characters.
No, me too. Like, I was so sad at the end when she died, but, you know, before that, I really liked all of it. I'd like seeing Sazed interact with, like, other terracemen, because you don't get to see that in the first book at all, but you, like, hear a lot about them. So, like, actually seeing him interact with one and hearing them talk about things, I really enjoyed. But I was so sad when we found out about her past.
Yeah.
Like,
no, absolutely.
When they were like, she's birthed 20 children, I'm like, good God, that poor woman.
Yeah. And it's like, I liked it because it's kind of like, it's interesting, right? Because it's a very, very difficult life to be brought up in, where she's, you know, being used in that way, and how like Sazed was saying that like compared to everyone else, like they were free, right? Compared to how she was treated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it gives you perspective on like, you never know someone's like life story, right? Oh, can't imagine.
No, but I also really liked her interactions with Elend and like teaching him to be a better king, because the man could use it, honestly.
The man needed it.
Yeah. But like when he started being like, you can leave now, Tindwell, I really liked him kind of coming into that kingly role a little bit.
Absolutely.
Like the emperor now or something. I don't know what his role is, but.
And I think she was necessary, because I don't think he would have otherwise became a stronger character, because he was friends with his inner council.
Yeah, like, and nobody was gonna.
They didn't respect him, but they didn't respect him as much as Kelsier, and he wasn't Kelsier, and that was kind of his biggest pitfall.
Yeah,
when it came to the original crew,
they had like too much of a casual dynamic, and I don't think Elend on his own was ever strong enough to kind of take that step into becoming a leader.
Absolutely.
But I like to see a makeover.
I really wanted it to work out for them. Me too. Sazed deserves to be happy.
Honestly, just like everyone's going through it in this book.
Brando does not hold back.
No.
I'm like trying to like, this book was so slow, like so like little like happened, I feel like, but so much happened.
Yeah.
You know, but not enough to really spread out the discussion.
Yeah, and like, does anybody have anything specifically they want to talk about?
Because most of this book was set up, I feel like, for the last book, and giving us more context for the last book and backstory about everything.
I'm very excited for the Hero of Ages.
Oh, me too.
It's like, I feel like as I'm reading it, I'll probably remember things, but right now I don't remember much of anything about it, aside from the very ending.
Yeah. I love this book, but it was slower compared to book one. Absolutely. Did you guys enjoy it more in a reread?
No.
Yeah.
I think the problem was I was probably trying to read this book like too much of it in too short of a time, which probably did impact my reread, which is like a me problem. But also, like, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the stream, where it's a very political book. It's very slow. Once you take out the surprise that those like plot twists add in, it's kind of just like everyone's talking. And then Ringo kills people. And then we're talking some more.
Yeah. And like so many pages pass between one decision and the next, with like, okay, meeting with Straff, right? They took so many pages to discuss, to organize, to like fight over, and then he goes to the camp and you're like on the edge of your seat, like what's gonna happen? And then it passes within 5 pages, and then he's back out of the camp. And I'm like, okay, well, that was a lot of setup for not a lot of payoff.
Yeah.
So once you know things that happen, I feel like the reread is just not, it's just not as satisfying.
Yeah. Although one thing that I did find quite exciting was when Ellen went to see Jastes with like who at least was running the like Kolos army or whatever, and he just like beheaded him right there or whatever he did to him. I was shocked. I liked that part because that was definitely a different side to Ellen that I was not expecting from him.
Absolutely. And I think it's necessary for a king to be able to not necessarily be vindictive. That's not the word I'm quite looking for. But to just like stand on his morals and realize, okay, like to go from book 1 where they're, you know, buddy talking about all these like pipe dreams and being very idealistic to being on 2 opposite sides of the war and realizing that like consequences must be had.
So did you notice anything you didn't notice the first time you read it? I think for me personally, just a lot of things about this make more sense because I've read more books in the Cosmere now. And I'll leave it at that. I don't know like what's a spoiler or not, but like just certain things about like the world that this is set on just make more sense, especially in regards to like the ending of the book.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head like that I didn't notice the first time. It's also just been a while, I feel like, since I've read this book for the first time that I don't even really remember what I remembered, if that makes any sense.
Sure. Yeah. So I thought the epigraphs were really interesting in learning about the Hero of Ages and how the thing imprisoned at the Well of Ascension must not be released. Yeah, I really liked how that was all done and how like the Mist Wraith was like tearing off little bits of the paper that Seiza was working with and how you kind of find out why it was doing that. I liked that a lot. And it kind of turns the whole like thing that you've been believing in for like the entirety of the series so far, just like turns it on its head because obviously you don't want somebody to go to the Well of Ascension and release this thing, but like everybody's been believing that that's what you're supposed to do to save the world. And I thought that was a really good plot twist.
Absolutely. And it adds a level of like, what can you trust, right? We've been reading bits from like in the above the chapters, right? All those blips from like the Lord or not the Lord Ruler's logbook, but the I don't remember his name. Alendi? Quan?
I think Quan's the one that's writing them, maybe.
But like, are any of those really true, right? Because if everything that's written in paper can be changed on this draft, then it's like.
Well, I think all of the things from the epigraphs are written in like on a like a metal.
Right, from the Alendi one is on stone, but I think the logbook wasn't, right?
Oh, I don't know. I just know like the epigraphs, like the things above the chapters. I think everything from those is written in stone, so like that is real. Aside from like the last part that Seiza was writing that was like getting torn off the paper.
Okay.
That is what like was changed, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's a cool touch of world building though.
Yeah. I mean, I love the way that's all done with like the epigraphs above the chapters. I like that in the first book, it kind of leads you to believe something, and then it's like not that. It does the same thing in this one.
Absolutely. But in a different way, you know?
Yeah.
Trying to think of anything else like notable.
Yeah.
Just feels like such a long book to not have much to say about.
I feel so bad for Seiza when he lost faith in his own culture because of it. Yeah, I like the whole part at the end when he was like, I just don't want to like help with anything, basically. I'm like, you know, fair enough. If I believed in this whole thing for like, I don't know how old Seiza it is, but like I'd be pretty despondent too if I found that out.
Absolutely.
But I think like it's so interesting because he spends, you know, the entirety of these first 2 books like telling people about all these different religions, and now the fact that he's lost faith in his own, I feel like I just feel so bad for him.
No, it's really interesting in like just with religion too, right? It's all about faith. And just having the discussions with like the crew as well. I don't remember if it was, I think it was Clubs when he had the discussion with Clubs about which religion he thought that would fit Clubs. And they had a whole, well, you believe all of the religions, so how can you believe any of them if they're all like,
Yeah.
hypocritical and counter of each other. But yeah, to lose, but it's understandable, right? You go through these traumatic events and you start to wonder, like, is it even true, right? What is true? What is real?
Although, speaking of Clubs, how do we feel about Clubs and Dachshund dying?
I want to talk about it.
I guess they were the two that I care the least about.
Yeah.
Out of the crew. Like, I really like the fact that Breeze got a lot of his own like points of view throughout this book. I thought those were really interesting. And I just think his take on emotional allomancy, I don't know if I agree with him on it, but I think it's really interesting to hear his thoughts on it because it's like, how is this any different from like a woman wearing a low-cut dress or like just people manipulating other people with like words? But I'm like, I see where you're coming from, but I don't think I agree. But like hearing his view on it, I liked that a lot.
No, absolutely. I loved any bits that we got from Breeze's perspective, which made me think that he was the one that died. I was like, I couldn't remember who died, and I was like, why are we getting all these Breeze point of views?
Yeah, scary time.
Is he a goner?
Yeah, but I just thought his like his inner turmoil with the fact that like he hasn't really had a lot of relationships because he's like, how am I gonna know if these people like me like because of me, or is it because I'm emotionally manipulating them? And I'm gonna say it, like, I feel like I've said this for all the characters, but like it makes me sad for him. Like you have this thing that's like so cool, like allomancy and like being able to emotionally manipulate people, but like how it's impacting his real life is just it's a nice touch to add in there.
It impacts how you interact with everyone.
Yeah.
Like he mentioned that how he views people and how he interacts with them is so different from like a normal person because it's like instinctive to try to like ease their worries, make them calm, just like constantly trying to read people's emotions. Like that seems exhausting.
Yeah,
like
honestly.
24/7.
But I do really like kind of how he seems very, nonchalant, kind of the typical I don't know, lordly behavior, whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
But I like how he's just always like calming people, helping them out. But like on the outside, he's very just like, I don't care about these people.
Especially the scene when he's the refugees had came in and he was like calming everyone, and I don't remember who approached him, but he was like, help these people. Heck no, I need to be far away from them as possible. But he's been like there for hours trying to make everyone feel better, basically.
Yeah, I love Breeze as a character. I think he's so interesting. So I really like
got more depth to his character this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like in the first book you kind of get like an overview of everybody in the crew, but you don't really spend a lot of time getting to know them. I don't think you get any points of view, or you don't get a lot of them, at least in the first book. But I like that this one kind of focused on him a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Bree's feelings being read by, is it Elraine?
Alrianne.
I don't know why I was surprised by it. That is something that I totally forgot about until this reread. And I think it's so interesting, right? Because Breeze is like very powerful and able to, feel people on his, like try to touch his emotions. He's very in tune with his emotions, and yet to be so in tune and yet still think that no one's affecting you. Now, her character was interesting.
Yeah, Ariane gets on my nerves, but I like her as a character.
Absolutely.
But I thought like Vin's reaction to her every time she saw her, she's like, "What is that Puff doing here?"
No, literally.
But I like what Ariane like. I mean, she kind of does the same thing Breeze does, where she puts on this like front, but she's actually very smart, very cunning. Doesn't really, she doesn't really show that outwardly. She kind of just acts like a Puff, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and she's aware that it makes her to where people like underestimate her.
Yeah.
So it works. Also, I like Puff as like a description. That's so fun.
It's so funny.
Look at that Puff. Do we have anything else we'd like to say? We've talked for about a half hour.
Yeah,
I feel like we covered most bases.
Yeah.
If y'all have anything else that you want to bring up, now is the time to do so. I'm really excited for the third book. I know I enjoyed the third one more than the second one, the first go around, because this does feel very filler, very like setup-y, but I still like loved it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like I'll say that this book is slow all the time, but I still really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. It's one that you definitely don't want to sit down and need to read all in one night.
No. Don't be like us.
But it's good. It's good. The payoff is worth it. And I feel like that is the case with a lot of Brandon Sanderson books, right? Especially the longer ones. It's like the payoff always is worth it.
Oh yeah.
He never does me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was confused by Beryllium and what it did and what happened to the 11th metal. It wasn't brought up again, it seems. I don't remember what the 11th metal did, but I know Beryllium, basically whatever metals they're actively burning, when you burn Beryllium, it like uses up the entire reserve in one burst. So when she was fighting the 6 Allomancers in the town meeting, and she was like being strangled basically, she burned Beryllium to be able to use her, was it pewter, I think? The pewter? No.
Maybe.
Whatever makes her stronger. Kind of all in one burst. Where suddenly she like didn't even level the playing field. She like shot above it in one move. Yeah. But it burns up all of their reserve basically. So it's like risky to use. But then Beryllium also can be used to, control the Kandra. Because she had burned Beryllium while soothing Orseer. And that's how she was able to beat Zane, right? Is that right? Am I making this up? Okay, I was like, why are you looking at me like that?
No, I honestly don't. Like, obviously I know what happened, but I don't remember the specifics, like with which metals it is.
I know Beryllium was definitely involved. I don't remember. Do you remember what the 11th metal was? Because I remember it was a metal. It just wasn't the metal that would defeat the Lord Ruler.
Yeah, I feel like in the first book they did something with it, and I think Vin kind of found out that it wasn't that helpful for what she was trying to do.
Yeah.
Hang on.
I'll just something similar to gold, right? I could have sworn it did something where it was like kind of useless in terms of like fighting. Because gold shows your future. I wonder if it says in the back of the book.
It says that it allows an Allomancer to see either who another person was in the past or who they could have become if they'd made different choices. I think they used it she used it, I think, on the Lord Ruler at the very end of the first book.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Sander Lanch is absolutely the best and totally worth it. I did really like kind of the ending battle in this whole one when Vin found out she could control the Kolos. I thought that was all very cool.
So epic.
Yeah.
And again, my girl's just overpowered.
Oh, absolutely. But I still love her.
Why are the Ska not trained to defend the city? I just think it just comes with the years of being slaves, basically. Right? They weren't afforded the opportunity to ever think that they could fight for themselves.
Yeah, I feel like the nobility wouldn't have wanted that. They wouldn't have had the Ska to have any power of really any sort.
Yeah.
To kind of stand up for themselves and revolt.
Absolutely.
Because the nobility suck.
Absolutely. Malatium was the 11th metal.
Oh.
Because it was the opposite of gold, right?
Honestly, I know like the very basic metals.
The basic ones, yeah.
I know like the 8 basic ones, but like once you get into like there's so many of them. I don't remember them. But if you ask me what tin is, I'll know.
All right.
But do we have anything else to add? I feel like we're probably
reaching the end.
Yeah. Oh, I did not know that malatium was an alloy of gold and atium. You learn something new every day.
Okay. You really do. It makes sense, though, because they're both gold and atium are very similar, but obviously opposites, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Huh. All right.
Anyway.
Well.
That is the end
us
of the chat.
For the chat about the Well of Ascension.
Hopefully, we'll have a better organized chat for the Hero of Ages. I'm coming in with notes next time. I'm gonna have them ready.
Obviously, we'll announce that when it gets closer, when we have like a set date. Actually, let me look at that now. Let's see if I can choose a date right now. Let's see. September. How about the day after your birthday? Because I don't think you want to live stream on your birthday.
Yeah, I'd rather not do a live stream on
So the 29th. Let's do 29th. Sunday the 29th. And if anything changes, we'll let you know. We'll announce it in the next week or so.
Yeah. Also, one last thing. Somebody asked Era 1 versus Era 2 book 2. We definitely know Katie's answer. Got that right. Love Shadows of Self. I liked it more than this book, that's for sure. I am the biggest Era 2 proponent. It's so good.
I'm going to do a reread, just not until after I finish Stormlight, I've decided.
Yeah, I think I probably won't read any Sanderson between Hero of Ages and Wind and Truth. But next year, I'd like to reread Era 2.
Solid.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you all for joining us.
And yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of your Saturday. Bye!